Okay.
Yeah, I loved how you had the labs kind of stationed all around. That was great, how you had them stationed. I did have an opportunity to visit your classroom last week, and your scholars you had your stations out. Can you tell me a little bit about? I know I read your lesson plan, but I need you to verbalize what we saw.
Yeah, so when we do stations, we try to like make sure you set up the classroom in a way that's like really conducive to like very separate stations. Like right now it's kind of like a cohesive like U. So as you probably saw, like up at the front was station 1, back here 2, 3, and 4, and that way you have smaller group sizes. And then at each station they're doing actually like a different lab, so they're getting kind of like a different experience with each water property at like each station. So you obviously requires a lot of like planning up front and supplies, but I think that it really helps the information like stick when the kids get to actually kind of do a little bit more of an interactive kind of like explorative.
Right. Now the water property station that I observed, it was a water property station. And what is it, cohesion?
So the one up at front, like with the penny, they were just like had a dropper and saw how many like drops they could fit on a penny. It's talking about like water sticking to the penny is adhesion, and then water sticking to itself to dome up over the penny is cohesion. So that was like kind of the concepts they were reviewing there. And then back here they were doing like surface tension with a paper clip, and then over there they were doing capillary action. And then up there they were doing buoyancy. So like we have 7 different properties of water we had to teach, so we were able to reloop like 5 within the stations.
Well, let me ask you, during that time, do you think, I know you've been utilizing your leaders in the classroom, I noticed that you did have them doing some coaching their peers through each one of the stations. And I noticed that, I was thinking that maybe perhaps we can think about some questioning strategies ahead of time for them to even, question their peers on how they feel like they could have improved on the stations or whatever. That was just a thought I had after I left.
Yeah.
And also, I love how the scholars are starting to take ownership of their learning. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not completely there, but I just appreciate that there are like the group leaders who are like really proud that they're having that role, and then the students are really respecting that like they were the ones getting to do the labs and stuff because they had been set up as the group leader, and they're able to like get a little bit more help because now it's more like there's like 5 teachers walking around than just me. So I think it's just overall been like very helpful for the students as well as for myself, and it's becoming like something that kids are kind of striving towards, like wanting to be that person.
And I noticed also, I want to just say that you did a really good job with using moderately difficult tasks. You want to challenge the kids, but yet you don't want to make them lose hope on what their abilities can be. I did notice that. I want to thank you for
and I mean that can be hard with the kids that I teach just because there are a lot of EC kids, so it's like sometimes they struggle to design lessons that like kind of meets every people's needs. So I think towards the beginning of the year I sort of settled on the easier side, so then the lower kids didn't feel so lost. But now that we're doing like the strategic grouping and pairing with like the leader is kind of able to give them more support, so now we can increase the rigor without like losing the lower end of the spectrum.
Right. And they're even starting to take ownership of their own education, which is good. And that was a growth area for me as well, learning this whole thing about efficacy. So, and I have noticed a huge change from you in the beginning to now, actually. Very good. Anything else you want to add?
I just know that you had mentioned that like maybe using like a classroom debate sort of to improve the rigor, or so what I had envisioned kind of was maybe the last 10 minutes of class, like rather than having them like just keep working on their labs, like shutting it down a little bit early and then having like a debate kind of like, and I don't know how you envisioned it, like, so what was station 1 sort of testing, like what property, and then having them debate about why. Is that sort of what you had in mind, or?
Well, yeah, that's definitely what I had in mind, because you have a rambunctious group and they like to argue. So I'm just thinking that I noticed there were some not heated discussions, but there were some very good discussions in some of the labs. As I was walking around observing, there were some nice discussions, and it would have been, and even you can use, as the moderator or whatever, you can even pose a question and have those folks debate as to what the correct solution would be or something like that, you know. Just healthy, organized ways of arguing.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
just a thought.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I appreciate that.
And I know I have those in my classroom, and you know, they love to talk and like, no, they didn't, you know. So that would be a great way to.
And they usually, like, do you find that you have to teach them how to be respectful during that, or?
And what that requires some upfront teaching before you actually get into your next labs or whatever. Just give them, okay, these are some strategies that we can use during our debate time. Okay, I will pose the question and let them know what to expect. You know what you're going to do, and these are your expectations of them during the debate. Everybody's allowed to voice their opinions respectfully. You know, no arguing, just a healthy way of expressing yourself.
Okay, good.
Makes sense?
Yeah, that's what I sort of figured,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious, because I know you teach some of the same kids. So.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta love them.
Yeah.
Let's see. The self-efficacy. You know, we've talked about that a little bit. And I love how you're allowing your scholars to make their own decisions by having assignment options. Well, yeah, assignment options. And we talked a little bit about that before, but I just want you to kind of grow in that area. What I have researched, and I found that oftentimes when you allow students, you know, have several options, that kind of gives them ownership rather than you say this is what you need to do. You can give them 2 or 3 options of, you know, homework assignments. Choose from these 3, one of these 3, and if you give them the opportunity to choose which assignment they want to do, that's buy-in. Make sense?
Absolutely.
That's buy-in. So they're more likely to get it done because they made that decision rather than you making that decision. And that's all a part of efficacy.
Right. Yeah. I found that to be really helpful as well.
Very good. Just continue doing what you're doing. I've enjoyed working with you this entire year. I'm definitely not done with you, you know that for sure. But it's been a pleasure. This has been an absolute learning process for me as well, the Emerging Leaders Program. And I've been sharing some things with you because I expect nothing but good things from you in the future. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
I appreciate
Absolute
your help. Thanks.
but, you know, we still need to talk about a few things, and then we can wrap up our meeting.
Okay.
That's it.
Sounds good.
All right. I love how you had Mr. Thomas, he was over there doing his thing, and